Ahoy! Are you ready to set sail? Hope so.
What's going on, my movie lovers and butt smokers, and welcome to another episode of 5 on It, a show where we do two things, smoke doobies and review movies. We are your hosts. I am Francisco. He is Sir Fraser.
Yes, sir.
And on today's episode, we are going back in time to 1979. We're talking about a horror sci-fi classic, Alien.
With capital C.
Yes, sir.
This son of a bitch is huge. I mean, it's like a man. It's big.
But before we dive into the weeds on that, don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, share with all your other movie lovers and butt smokers out there. But Sir Fraser, what are you smoking on?
Man, I got me a Higher Cultures cartridge. It's Rocket Pop. Man, I'll let you try it, man. It's good. This is
Yeah,
really
it tastes good. Tastes really good.
Smooth hit, sweet flavor. Definitely worth checking out.
Man, there's only like a couple of like cartridges when like they've actually say like whether it's like blueberry, lemon, blah blah, grape, all that type of shit. When you smoke it and you're like, damn, this actually tastes like watermelon or some shit. That, I mean, I would say Rocket Pop, maybe not Rocket Pop itself, but it tastes fucking delicious.
Yeah,
I will say that. So
definitely worth checking out.
And I am smoking on a Washington Apple though, and that shit tastes good as well. So we got a couple of little bangers right now.
That was smooth. Mm-hmm. But yo, let's dive in. So the summary for this movie, for those of you who haven't seen it, upon investigating a distress signal on a distant planet, LV-426, the crew of the commercial spacecraft Nostromo discover a deadly extraterrestrial life form. So some background on this movie. It's directed by Ridley Scott. This was really his first big picture after The Duelists, which I think he did just a couple of years before. So I mean, he was stepping in the driver's seat of a pretty big movie, pretty big project at least. I don't know that any of them expected it to be what it came to be, but in any event, it stars Sigourney Weaver, Tom Skerritt, John Hurt, and Yaphet Kotto, among others. Man, it's kind of crazy to think about. This movie actually received pretty mixed reviews, despite being really successful at the box office. It won that year for the only thing I was nominated, I believe, which was the Academy Award for Best Visual Effects.
Well, got another nomination. It got Best Art Direction.
Did it?
Yeah, I got nominated, but it didn't win.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just saying, man, this movie is like, I mean, the visual effects are incredible.
Which we talked about it off mic, but I was surprised that it didn't get maybe a couple of more nominations. Even like Best Picture or Best Directing. Maybe you can give Sigourney Weaver like a Best
Supporting actress, yeah, or Best Actress, yeah.
But when I was looking it up, like even though nowadays you get, I want to say 10 nominations for Best Picture, this was back in the day. They were still doing just 5 nominations.
Okay.
So I guess that definitely hacked obviously the nominations in half as it is today. But like when I'm looking at directing, you got Kramer versus Kramer, all that jazz, Apocalypse Now, Breaking Away, The Cage, Aux Folies. I'm not really sure about that. I know Kramer versus Kramer, obviously Apocalypse Now. Those are definitely some wide regarded movies to this day. All that jazz, I think, is like some sort of like dance musical or some shit like that. But I'm like, man, come on. I think you can give, especially this movie and how it's regarded today and how like it still holds up, everything like that.
Yeah,
I'm just surprised it only got two nominations.
I mean, not even cinematography. Like that's kind of crazy to me.
No sort of sound either.
Yeah, man.
Costume.
I mean, dude, like just from the visual aspect, there's so much to like be impressed about this movie. I mean, this movie is a fucking masterpiece. I think that hold on. Well, just a couple more things. This movie,
it's gonna get lost off the rails.
This movie in 2008 was selected for preservation in the U.S. National Film Registry for good reason. And one person we really got to shout out to is H.R. Giger. He's the Swiss artist whose artistic visions. I think there was a Necronomicon 4 painting that he did that really gave Ridley Scott like an inspiration for how he wanted to depict the actual xenomorph. But he was instrumental. He was a part of the visual effects team for which they were nominated, as was Carlo Rambaldi. Also, he went on to win visual effects, I believe, for E.T. As well, in just a couple years later. So I mean, he was a part of some pretty dope projects.
Pumping out some classics right there.
Yeah, right. So H.R. Giger, I mean, he was instrumental in really kind of bringing, the life. He was also very much involved with the set design and actually creating the molds, for the space jockey. Obviously, he provided a lot of the inspiration for the actual design of the eggs. But yeah, you see some of his artwork. His artwork is very, very disturbing, very bizarre, and it's not difficult at all to see that it was no large leap to go from the concept of Alien to his artwork. I mean, the connecting thread is just clear as day.
Man, thinking of like the eggs, and I haven't seen this movie in a long, long time.
Yeah,
I can't even remember the last time I've seen this movie. But going back and rewatching it, that was like a standout scene for me. Just when like the facehugger first catches onto a cane.
Motion for the facehugger, and like they had like the hydraulics of the kind of the 4 petals where you kind of the egg opens up like a flower, and there you see like I think it was like cow and sheep innards that they used to kind of give it much more of a realistic effect to make it look real. And then, when that facehugger actually jumps up to clean, that was actually shot in reverse.
Oh, really?
They reversed that because the hand came out of the hand that was actually propelling with the facehugger on it, the glove. It actually was already on him, on his mask, and then it reversed it so it looked like he was jumping at him. That's how they actually filmed it. So, like, they do a lot of... This is one thing that I have to say for anyone who's a fan of film. We're going to talk about this quite a bit in our review, but if you are a fan of film, going and actually look at how they created the visual effects, looking at the cinematography, how they shot it, I think you'll find this, like, really, really worth your while. I mean, it's a fascinating history, and it really contributes to just, like, the art that this movie represents for me.
Well, like I was reading a little bit about even when Ridley Scott's talking about just like working with the budget and at the time and thinking like maybe he bit off a little more than he could chew, thinking about just what it would entail to try to bring this movie to light. And just like we mean like shooting it is also just like trying to like, they do this a lot with the Jurassic Park, obviously filming at night is a good way of like hiding some of like your deficiencies in your effects. And so like that's one thing they do on the ship a lot. I mean, the ship looks fan-fucking-tastic.
Oh man, let's talk about it.
They do side note, they do like some miniatures as well. I want to say the miniatures maybe was used for like maybe the outside of the ship shots.
Yeah, and the derelict ship for sure.
Yeah. But like going through the ship, it just looks so fucking good and it feels big. And so I'm like, man, I wish I could be on set like this to see like exactly how large it is, because it feels like they're actually going through almost, not like saying a maze, but they're just going through like a real ship.
Well, there's 2 things I want to say. One, it's funny because this movie with the low ceilings in the Nostromo, it feels very, very claustrophobic in a way that Event Horizon didn't. Because Event Horizon is such a huge ship. We talked about this movie a while back. We reviewed this, but that ship felt massive in comparison to the low ceilings of the Nostromo. But like to your point about the opening sequence and just like the lay of the ship, I think that from the rip we get like this really, it felt like just kind of coming to, and we learned that they were brought out of stasis because of a message from Mother. Mother is the computer programmer or the program that runs the ship.
Yeah.
Right. And they have been called to respond to a distress signal from LV-426, and that's why they've been brought out of sleep. They were supposed to be at Earth.
Yeah.
They were supposed to be waking up at Earth, and that's why they've been waking out of stasis.
Well, obviously, when you find that out, the crew is definitely a bit pissed off.
Oh, yeah.
And I mean, obviously, I would be pretty annoyed too. But like with the camera going through, like is it showing like the ship and everything like that, the room, how it like illuminates with the light, everything opening up. I mean, it looks fucking dope. You can't even tell like if you would have told me this movie was made in 1979, I would be definitely surprised, because if I had no idea, I would have. I mean, I've told you it's an older movie. Obviously, you can tell the look on it, but everything still just holds up to this day. But one thing I definitely seeing Alien Romulus recently, that's like a cool thing that they did in their movie, was it opened up very similar. Whether it was like the basic lettering of the credits opening up, to even just when aliens, like the title screen comes on, how it just kind of slowly the letters kind of pan to the screen. That's a nod that was pretty cool. I thought Alien Romulus did.
Okay. Sorry, you're about to say something.
Oh no, I'm just saying that's just a good nod that they did to like pay, whether it's pay homage or just leave an Easter egg. That's something good that Alien Romulus did for.
Yeah, they definitely did, and they took a lot of cue from just the visual effects side. I actually read that they brought on some of the members from the visual effects team of Alien.
Yeah.
I read that they brought them in, and that definitely shows in the way that that movie is stylized, the way that it opens. To your point. So, question, because you were talking about the pacing of the credits, that brought to mind just like the pacing. I think for a lot of people, I felt this way as a kid when I first saw this movie. But it's very, very slow in the beginning. It's a slow burn. Now I don't mind that at all, because it's so successful at building tension.
Yeah.
I'm okay with that. But what do you think about it? How do you feel? Do you feel like it was too slow? Do you feel like it serves its purpose? Like what did you think?
Honestly, I didn't think it was slow at all. Honestly, I know it was categorized maybe as, like you said, like a slow burn, but watching it now, and like I said, I haven't seen it since God knows when. So watching it now, I don't know. It felt like it worked at a good pace, because I just knew what I was kind of already getting my mind into. I know kind of how like these aliens movies type of work, where like you're gonna get a look at the crew. I mean, it's kind of like this is what you have to do in order to build a good story, in my opinion.
You ground us in the world of the characters.
Yeah, like introduce us to the crew and their surroundings. Like give us attached to some of the characters a little bit. Then you got to show us like what happened. Like they're gonna show us like something got intercepted, or they got to get to the alien planet somehow. Then when they get there, pretty much all hell breaks loose.
Yeah.
In a way. But you gotta you can't just have in my opinion, just all mayhem just break out as soon as like the story pops off. So I mean, maybe watching this as like as with younger eyes, yeah, I guess maybe it could feel as a slower burn, especially even when you do start seeing the alien. I mean, the alien is only on the screen for a total of 4 minutes, I want to say. I said
not unlike Jaws.
Yeah, exactly. So it could feel maybe as a slower burn if you're watching it with younger eyes, because even when the action does set in, it's not completely just nonstop or anything. It's
subdued. It's not. Yeah,
exactly.
It's
They're building tension, just especially when they find the face hugger. And they're I was thinking of a different scene, but they're looking for the original face hugger, and they're just kind of going around, and then it kind of drops onto Ripley's back or whatever, just like that scene. Or even when Brett is looking for it, not the face hugger, but when it morphs into something else, the little baby xenomorph. Oh man! And Brett's walking around, and he finds the skin and everything. It's shit's going down, it's a hide and seek game. And so to me, I don't mind. Maybe it is a slow burn, but pacing felt fine to me personally. Because I like that whole that tension where it's us as a viewer knows things are not okay, right? But the characters on screen don't know it yet.
Well,
I enjoy that.
I mean, I think that's a great point, because I mean that's I think that harkens back to what Hitchcock talked about. The bomb under the table. It's if you let the audience know, if we as the audience know that there's a bomb under the table before the characters on the screen does, exactly, that countdown is just more intense as opposed to it just happening and we learn just the main characters. Exactly. I think that sense of dread and just the mounting tension in this movie is just it's top tier.
Even when like the face hugger gets on a cane and they're trying to figure out how to get it off. Another credit to the practical effects, because the face hugger still it probably looks. I mean, this I'm not sure, I haven't seen maybe all the Alien. I don't think I've seen Alien 3, and I haven't seen Alien Resurrection in a long ass time. But there's always usually like a face hugger scene at some point. Somebody's gonna get their chest bursted out somehow. But when you see that fucking thing lashed onto Kane's face, it looks so good. It looks disgusting when they're trying to cut the legs off. I'm like, bro, this looks like some nasty ass crab, some weird ass shit, bro. And the acid starts bleeding through the ship and everything. And even like that scene when they're trying to go through the ship,
floor by floor, that was really cool effect as well. Just like actually like genius, like a predator, an apex predator that bleeds acid.
Yeah. Like what did it say? Like Parker said, it's got a hell of a defense mechanism.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, something I did want to speak on when we're talking about the crew. I think that when Dallas is explaining to the crew why they're up, why Mother woke them up, and what they need to do, and Ash, Parker's like, no, fuck this. We're gonna talk about money. Let's talk about money.
Yeah.
Like, I want to make sure I'm getting paid. Now, you want to throw some more money at me, I'll be happy to oblige.
Yeah.
And Ash...
this is like the second time he's bringing it up, too.
Yeah, and you're right. Yeah, and Ash, says, actually, under contract, you are obligated to do whatever the company says, or you forfeit your share. And, Parker's like, all right, cool, baby, be cool.
He changes his tune again.
Why did you say that?
He brings up the money again with Ripley later on, too.
Yeah.
Just like, we're not doing anything until we get our share, we get paid. And she's like, you are legally obligated or legally binding that you're going to get your share of like whatever they bring up.
Yeah. And I mean, I think like that, it really plays up on the class tensions within the crew. And I thought that was like an interesting aspect to see.
And the hierarchy of it.
Yeah, the hierarchy, of course, of it.
Those two, I'm guessing, are on the lower end. And then Dallas, I'm guessing, is at the top.
And Ash,
and Dallas and Ash, and then Sigourney, and then Lambert,
and Lambert, and what's his name, Kane.
Kane, yeah. But
yeah, I mean, I thought that was like a really cool aspect. And then when we actually get to LV 426, the planet with the derelict ship, they're still trying to interpret what this message is.
Yeah.
So there's that. Kane, Lambert, and Dallas go. Dude, this whole scene, the way that they shot it, man, is so beautiful. Because I think the actual original derelict ship was like made of like styrofoam or something like that. Mm-hmm. And then, but like the level of detail when we actually get into the ship. Mm-hmm. And another really cool thing that they did, and then once they actually get on the fucking ship, dude, how amazing was that set design?
Yeah, it looks amazing. Even like the suits, everything looked great. That's why I'm surprised. Like it only got 2 nominations. Man,
yeah,
I feel like for all the significance this movie has and how much it holds up. Even like we're watching this in 2024, so 1979, 80. What is that, like almost 45 years? 45 years ago?
Yeah.
And this movie still looks amazing. Man.
And then there's movies that came out 10 years ago that look like shit now. This is just a great example that with something that you and I have talked about off camera. Focus on practical effects. They age better, they look better. Dude, like we reviewed E.T. The only part of E.T. that I was like, nah, even though I really like the scene, like, nah, the special effects, is when they fly over the bikes. Or when they fly over the car on the bikes.
But like the story's still great. E.T. looks great, even when he's dying and stuff.
Like, but that's where they went. That's the scene where it's just like, nah. Everything else, you're like, damn, this hits.
But even that part, it's more funny. It's not like, ooh, that looks fucking
bad. Yeah. It's still a fun scene. It's still a really fun scene
because you know what the era it came out in, so you kind of look at that and chuckle more than be like, that looks like shit.
Yeah, exactly.
This movie, like
you don't have that.
Just like I said, just two off of what we just mentioned, like the eggs and the face hugger. Like, my God. It still holds up. Still looks fantastic.
We haven't even gotten to the chest burster scene, which we will get to.
We can get into that right now since we're talking about the face hugger.
Well, the thing I did want to say, like, is like going back to like the way that this was shot and showing like the kind of like just like trying to highlight like just like how massive like their space jockey was. They filmed with the kids in the suits. I think 2 of them were actually Ridley Scott's kids. Space jockey, you see like very ominously, right? The hole in its chest, and Dallas says, "Looked like something exploded out of him." What do we see next? The fucking burnt, the floor that has been like just burned away by what we'll find out.
Yeah.
You know, like what did you think of the actual design of not only first the space jockey and like the actual visuals of that, and then when they lower
sort of like critiques about anything that's anything visually or anything that has to do with like the set. I don't think I have any sort of like negatives to say about this movie.
Yeah.
Everything holds up visually. Everything is shot well. Like even like I said, like when they're lowering him to the eggs, it looks beautiful. It looks great.
Yeah.
So
well, I was gonna say, well, of course, like this is where Kane ends up. You know, the face hugger ends up attaching him, and just like the visuals too of like that blue field that was like keeping almost like keeping them frozen.
That was like another thing they did in Romulus too.
Yeah.
Didn't they do that like that little, or it's like maybe it wasn't the same. They used it the same way, but they showed like some sort of blue like floor
when they were in the room with
it might have been in the same room
with the
face huggers, but I want to say it was in some sort of. They used it in some sort of way. I can't remember exactly what, but thinking about when the face hugger attached itself to Kane, they're all communicating, trying to get him back to the ship.
Yep.
But
Ripley rightfully is like, no, like I can't risk the crew.
Mm-hmm. And since they're off the ship, technically she's the highest ranking member on the ship.
Ranking officer. Yeah.
So I'm like, what would you have done? Obviously, it's like, do you think? I mean, granted, maybe I'm asking multiple questions here. It's like, what would you have done in that position if you were Ripley? But then it's like, do you think also at the same time that Ash kind of knew what was kind of going on, and he was like
Ash did
was like, oh, I'm just gonna let him on the ship. Fuck that,
we learned Ash did.
He's got something on him, so we need to figure that out.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I think if you're gonna bring him on. Man, that's tough because obviously you put them at risk immediately. But if you leave them out, I mean, well, at least I think if you bring him in, you freeze him immediately. And that's something that Parker said. He said, why don't you freeze him?
Yeah. He
knocked on the glass when they were examining the face hugger as it was attached to Kane. And he says that. He said, why aren't you guys freezing him? And to me, like that should have been the immediate reaction. We don't know what this is. We're freezing him. Because that stops everything.
Ash knew. He knew something was like
that
would kill it. Pretty much, probably, essentially.
Maybe,
if you freeze it, I mean, because obviously another nod to Romulus. They freeze the tail, and it's like maybe if they would have froze the whole thing, maybe that would have maybe killed the organism.
That could have gotten him off.
And maybe Ash would have. That's why he kind of just ignored the whole command.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was just asking, like, I don't understand. Why don't you?
But would you have left him off? I mean, would you just leave him off the ship, or would you bring him on?
I mean, if we bring him on, we're freezing him immediately. Otherwise, that's the only condition I'm letting that. If I'm Ripley, that's the only condition.
Yeah. Because
she was actually responding like in a reasonable way, and they were like, "No, we got to get him on."
I like how she brings up.
If you were in my position, you do the same.
When she just goes up to Ash and just like, hey, I want to talk to you for a minute.
Yeah.
And she just kind of brings it up just kind of, just like how anybody would. Which like maybe it's the nod to the writing as well. But like this is kind of how a real conversation would kind of go down. You're kind of like, you're beating around the bush a little bit. And then you kind of get to it. It's like, oh, so is that why you just ignored quarantine protocols?
Yeah. As a science officer?
As a science officer, yeah. And he's just like, oh, I forgot what his response was. And she's just like, oh, so you just blatantly broke the law. Yeah. And he's like, no.
It's a risk I was willing to take, basically.
Yeah. And so you're already seeing them kind of already at odds.
Well, you're already seeing, what you're seeing there too is like, he's willing to sacrifice them. And we come to learn that all too clearly.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say with that scene too, I think she was being the reasonable one of that group. We were talking about that. But once the facehugger actually gets off of Kane, falls off, we learn that this thing is willing. It will kill him if they try to take the alien will kill him if they try to remove it, right? And so, but he's also has something like a tube down Kane's throat, and it's keeping him alive, and they're confused and they don't know why. Yeah. All this time, Ash is telling them, "Oh, I'm collating with Mother to figure out, learn more about this thing."
Yeah.
Once, well, actually, you know what? There's a really great dialogue between Ripley and Dallas, right, where she says to him, like, she doesn't trust Ash. And she's like, how do you know him? Like, hey, he was brought on to our ship a couple of days before we took off.
Yeah.
Red flag.
It seems like nobody even knows anything about this.
Red flag.
Yeah.
Like, what? And, like, Dallas is like, yo, the thing, you can tell Dallas is like a corporate man. He's like, yo, the job is to do what the fuck the company tells us to do.
Yeah.
He's just like, yo, I just want to get my money. And I think, like, Ripley's actually thinking about this, like, yo, like, this wasn't the right call. She's, like, thinking about it from a more ethical standpoint.
Yeah.
Like, her decision to not let him in was ethical based. Like, she realized that if I do that, I risk all of us.
Yeah.
And she was right.
Yeah. I mean, and I think Dallas, too, like, I wouldn't say he's at fault, but it's also, like, maybe he knows where his expertise lies. He's like, Ash is the science officer. He's the head of the science department. That's if he's the head, he's the call.
He's also he's clearly like, a follow the orders kind of guy too.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, I don't say like he's at fault, but he is a little bit, because he should maybe just override him and just kind of follow proper procedures, which, God, in all these alien movies, it always leads to. I mean, granted, you always need somebody to fuck it up in order to have the movie, but it's always somebody not willing to make the sacrifice, and it's always somebody close to you in order to save everybody else. So.
Well, it's crazy too, because like when they're out there before Kane gets the facehugger on him, if I remember correctly, doesn't Ripley say to Ash, "Hey, like I've been trying to scramble like the signals. Like I don't think it's SOS.
Yeah,
I think it's like a warning." Mm-hmm. And so like that also adds to the dread and the tension as the three are on their way to the derelict ship. Yeah. And so, but once the facehugger drops, man, you think everything's okay.
Well, Ash probably already knew about the message.
Oh, he did.
Yeah, that's why he was like, when she was like, "Oh, you can't decipher it," and then she's like,
"Let me try. You mind if I try?" Yeah,
he's like, "Yeah, I would love to." It's like he knows. I mean, once you watch the movie and everything, it's like this motherfucker knew. But and obviously, I think this was a good thing with the movie itself, is that we know that there's always some sort of cyborg in like these movies. Whether you have like this Ash, or was it David in some of the more recent ones?
David's the real villain.
Or even Andy in like the newest one. But the crew doesn't know that Ash is a cyborg.
I mean, that reveal was crazy. That was a highlight for me, no question.
Dude, this was kind of like, it's not a negative. I don't really have anything, I don't think, that's like so bad in this movie for me. But I thought it was fucking hilarious and almost hilariously bad. It's like, okay, he gets Ripley down. He's trying to kill her. He's rolling up this newspaper. And I'm like, bro, is this dude malfunctioning already?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, why are you trying to kill her with a fucking newspaper and trying to just shove it down her throat? Why don't you just choke her? You're a cyborg. You're AI, whatever. Why don't you just choke her or try to just suffocate her or something with your forearm?
Yeah, I didn't get that either.
That was so weird and like just kind of inadvertently funny for me. And then the way he's acting and everything, bro.
He's starting to glitch.
He's starting to glitch out, and then Parker comes and smacks the fuck out of him, and you get that big reveal that he's been an
android. Like, I mean, the actual special effects of that, like the actual like the marbles that they used, and like I think they used like pasta as well for the innards.
Bro, it looked disgusting.
That looked great. That was actual milk coming out of his mouth when they they switch it. Like that was like a really well done scene. I think that the reveal before that, right? And we're jumping ahead, but we're gonna come back to the facehugger scene. But I think like the scene where Ripley now has access to Mother. She goes there. This is after Dallas has been killed. Essentially, we don't see him die, but like, well, actually,
we know he's dead.
Well, you know what though? In the actual director's cut, there are extra scenes where the alien took I think he took Lambert, but definitely I think Dallas, and they're like cocooned up. And so that was like one of the director's cuts. So yeah, if any folks have a chance to see that, it's very interesting.
Well, that does, because there is a line by Parker, maybe.
Yeah, because we see Parker die,
like,
right?
Yeah.
We see Lambert die.
But he mentions he's like, there's no blood, no body, nothing.
Was that
about Dallas?
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe like he was cocooned up and all that type of stuff.
It fits when you have that context when you know about like the actual those scenes that were removed. But
I did want to mention something about Dallas's death, but we can come back to it.
I was to say after Dallas's death, right? Ripley is the head because Kane is now dead.
Yeah.
And so she's basically like the captain now, and so she has access to Mother. When she goes into Mother, the lighting of that, the design of that room was really cool, super well done, and she overrides Mother in order to find out what the special order given to Ash was, and she learns that the top priority is returning and recovering the alien organism. Everything else, all other priorities overridden. The crew is expendable. And when she sits back and we see the camera beside her, we see that scene was so good. He's like, he's like, what does he say? Like, there's a perfectly good explanation for this.
Dude,
and man.
I had to rewind it because I was like, wait a second, how long has this motherfucker been sitting there? And so I rewinded, but it's just the way they shoot it. She's just so frantic and like, trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. But then when she sits back and you get the reveal that God knows how long he's been sitting there.
Right.
And then there's a perfectly good explanation for this. And then she just starts yoking him up and all that type of stuff, trying to figure out the answers.
Yep.
But you know that there's something going on with this dude, something weird. But then obviously not obviously, but like when at the beginning of the movie, when they're showing the crew eating their breakfast, he's like, I could see him reaching for the milk. I don't know what milk is. I guess maybe milk is the shit he needs to properly go or whatever. I don't know, but like, cause like then he's reaching for the milk, and then there's another scene when like I think he was having a conversation with somebody, and before he's walking to another room, he's taking another drink of it, and then obviously when him and Ripley are having like their interaction, he's like bleeding a little bit or sweating or some shit. Yeah. You're like, why this motherfucker like sweating this white shit? It's like, is this shit milk? Like, is this dude sweating milk? And when
we learn,
bro, and then when he gets busted open, and then you see his face sitting on the table and everything,
he's still coming at him
like,
too, dude.
Bro, that's how you use effects. I mean,
yeah.
I keep pivoting to a little bit just to make nods to Romulus, just because we also just did see that recently, but they bring this character back in a way. Spoiler alert if you haven't seen that movie. Yeah. But Ash does come back as Rook. But the effects in Romulus, that one is a little bit weird. The one they do, the one they do in Alien is definitely
far better,
bro. And it's like, how is that even possible? You would think a movie in 1979 to a movie in 2024, things should be a lot better. And granted, Romulus does do some stuff a little bit maybe better as far as like the effects. Maybe some stuff looks a little bit more polished.
Yeah, the action sequences are definitely better.
Yeah, Romulus is more of a blend of Alien and Aliens. Yep. But but just the how they bring back Rook compared to Ash, Ash is done. Because they both are decapitated. Yeah. But they both are pretty much like talking heads at a certain point. And the talking head in the 1979 version looks so much better, even more disgusting. Like I said, his face is covered in milk and gets burned off and all that stuff. Oh my God, it's the effects again. Just
indeed, dude. We got to talk about the facehugger scene. The facehugger scene, man. I'm sorry, not the facehugger. I'm sorry, the chest burster scene. Yeah. My God, this is one of the best. This is ranked as one of the best. This is obviously one of the most iconic moments in the movie, but it's also ranked as one of the best science fiction, sci-fi moments ever. When the facehugger falls off of Kane and dies. Also, just a real quick note: the visuals of Kane when he's actually studying the facehugger. Like they actually used like seafood. They actually used like mussels, clams, and stuff like to fill the innards. Looks fucking phenomenal. It looks so real.
Yeah, it looks really good.
Like another really great example of the practical effects that they used. It's like, Hollywood, are you listening?
Dude, you use practical and use like the computer stuff to,
sparingly.
Like I said, to polish up some certain stuff.
This movie is a masterpiece and a master fucking class in lighting. The lighting, the way they do the lighting is just like phenomenal, and it can, especially at the end, it just contributes to the dread of the moment.
Yeah.
Especially when she's we'll talk about it. But anyways, the chest burster scene, bro. Tell me your thoughts.
Man, well, like
he starts coughing.
If you know like about this chest burster scene, then like you could kind of know that the cast wasn't even aware of exactly how this scene was going to play out. I read that they knew like something was going to happen, but they didn't realize like how far it was going to go and how much blood it was going to happen.
These are their raw reactions to seeing that, just like the audience.
For the very first time.
This is a one shot.
Yeah. And even the actress Veronica Cartwright that plays Lambert, she gets hit with like a nice little blood spew, and I guess she fainted.
Literally crying, like, "Oh my god!"
Yeah,
like,
dude,
bro.
I can't keep talking about the effects enough, or the baby alien, the baby xenomorph. When it comes out,
God, that was
it's
so
still,
horrific.
but like even now, it still looks fucking amazing. But then Parker, he's about to just kill the son of a bitch, and
Ash,
that's when you see
touch
Ash
it.
like, no, don't touch it, and the thing just scurries off, and now who the fuck knows where that fucking thing is?
Scene is so horrifying because like the dread, like when we see them around the table eating before they're about to go into stasis. Kane is seemingly okay. He says he just remembers kind of being like something being smothered.
Yeah.
Right? They're eating, they're cracking jokes, and Kane starts coughing. And initially Parker's like, "Hey, the food ain't that bad, baby."
Yeah.
He's like kind of making light of it, and everyone is reacting except Ash.
Yeah.
When he is up on his back, when he falls, even as he's coughing violently, he's still sitting there. And then, like, I guess when he's on the table, he says something's wrong or something's going on.
Yeah.
And oh man, when you see that initial pump of the blood, like as they're trying to put the fucking spoon or trying to prevent him from grinding his teeth.
Yeah. Or bite his tongue.
Yeah, bite his tongue. When you see the fucking blood pop up and then we cut back and we see it emerge from him, dude, it to me, this chest burst scene was better than the Romulus chest burst scene.
Yeah.
Bro, this was so much better.
I do like the sound so much on the Romulus.
That was a good sound with the ribcage.
Like,
The
crunch and everything.
That shit was like,
it was, and I'll give nod to the actress. Like when she's just like, I don't want to die. I was like, man, she did her thing. It was, man, it's hard to outdo the original when something like this is done so iconically.
But like, just talking about the visuals, not even like the actual acting around it, but the visuals. The visuals of this to me look better than Romulus.
Yeah, I would have to because this is so much more fresh in my mind that I can't disagree with that.
And that's kind of crazy, bro. Given how long ago this movie was made.
Man, I will give. Quickly because I did go on a little Alien bender just a little bit, but I watched Alien Covenant. And you don't really get a chest burst scene. You get a back burst.
Yo, that shit was horrible.
That shit was fucking gnarly. And like whatever they did with, granted, you get more CGI a little bit once it actually comes out. But just seeing it come out the back, damn, that's one thing Covenant did really well. Like you'll get some crazy chest burst, back burst scenes throughout this whole franchise, but it's hard to outdo the original. Yeah. And I bet when that initial pump of blood came, I bet the cast was especially you hear all the sound, like just the ruckus. And when that happens, things go quiet for a second.
Oh, yeah, bro.
And I bet the cast probably thought like, oh, that's it. And then it kept going, and now I bet that's when they were like, "Oh shit! Like what the fuck is happening?" Because obviously, like I said, they knew something was going to happen, but they just don't know how far it's going to go. And I bet when they first saw that first pump, they were probably like, "Oh, okay, well, that's it." And then, nah, bitch.
No.
But wait, there's more.
Yep. And I mean, I think the great thing about this movie is that we're learning. I mean, I think this speaks to kind of like, in some ways, what's at the heart of this is like, I think this is a theme about like, like man pushing beyond the frontier, right? Trying to gain more knowledge, and this is happening under, this really evil corporation who doesn't have ethics.
Yeah. But
they're like in pursuit of like more greater under scientific capability, and so like there's that side of the story, and when you're trying to approach that frontier, there's a lot of unknowns, and that contributes to like a lot of the fear. And we are very much in like this fear mode because we're encountering this alien along with them. We're learning about it just alongside them. Yeah. So we don't know what the fuck is going on, just like they don't know what the fuck is happening.
Well, that's why I like,
and that lends to like the shock, right, of like that chest burst scene so much, because you're just like, yo, oh my god, like what the fuck.
Dude, that's why when you mention like slow burn, like I love the tension it builds, like just when they're searching for the xenomorph.
Oh yeah,
like when
man.
Brett is trying to find it, and you see like the skin, and you're like, okay, this shed is
shed's like a reptile.
Yeah, exactly. And so you're just thinking like, what the fuck is like, what the hell's going on? So like I said, we're kind of like finding things out as they're finding things out.
Yeah.
And so that just builds to the story, builds to the tension.
And I mean, another thing that's really effectively used in this movie is the cat, right? Because the cat, we see the cat's reaction to the monster, but we don't see a lot of the monster. We almost, we see him tower over not Parker. Brett.
Yeah.
And we see it tower over him, and he's looking up, but we see it mostly from his POV.
Yeah.
And so like again, like it shows us like I what's the word I'm looking for? They don't overshare with the monster; they undershare it, right? Or they it's used in very sparingly.
Yeah, yeah.
And so the shots that they use are very intentional, but it also really relies on a lot of the darkness and the lighting and of the ship.
Yeah.
Similar to Jaws.
Thinking about Brett's death, that shit was like kind of funny for me, just because of the cat.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Like he finds the cat, and the cat you see is just like, oh,
it's
fuck
freaked out.
no, it's hissing towards it and everything. And then Brett just turns around, and he ends up getting got by the xenomorph. But then as he's dying, the camera just cuts back to the cat, and it's just showing the cat with no reaction. I don't know why, but that shit just made me crack up. That was just something fucking funny for me.
Yeah.
It's like, this cat, come on, man. Help him out. Do something. Like, you could jump out, claw out. Actually, do you even see the xenomorph's eyes ever?
No.
Does it even have eyes?
I assume it does, but I don't know how it sees.
I don't know, because they always put so much emphasis on like the head itself and just the teeth and the mouth. I was like, man, they never even show like the fucking eyeballs. But it just makes me like think of like just my funny brain when I see the cat. Like the dude's like, "Hey, kitty," and then he ends up getting got. It's like, come on, cat, don't sit there, just do nothing, do something.
Well, I think one of my favorite scenes, actually, bits of dialogue is in the scene right after that, where they tell Dallas, Ripley and Parker tell them that, because they didn't split up, they were telling the rest of the crew that, it's using the air shafts to travel. And Parker says, this son of a bitch is huge. Like, it's big. It's like a man. And like, you could tell, man, he was like, the way he actually is recounting it, he's just like, you can tell he's shook.
Yeah. Parker was such a good like comic relief.
Oh man, he nailed in this, man. I've seen a couple movies with him, and I liked him in both of them. He is really great in this role. I think the whole entire crew did great. Even Brett, he like his kind of right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Lambert as well, I feel like you kind of get a sense of all these crew members.
Well, you find like a sense of I want to maybe say attachment to them, but you just find like these are like a cool like crew members. They obviously kind of care about each other in some sort of way. But that's also, I think, plays into when like you're watching this and knowing that like it's a horror movie, like too. I mean, yeah, it's sci-fi, but it's sci-fi horror, whatever you want to say. And thinking horror movies, you know, some people are gonna die, but it's like, all right, who's gonna live? That's like one thing that's like pops in my brain whenever I'm watching this type of movie. It's like, who's gonna live and who's gonna die? And watching this, like, you know, Sigourney Weaver, obviously, she lives on because she's like the final girl of this franchise and everything like that. But when you first watch this, especially in like you try to watch it in 1979 and stuff, you're just kind of thinking like, you don't necessarily like, they don't have her front and center.
No.
I mean, like you said, Dallas is like the main head of the ship. So you're probably thinking maybe he's going to survive. But then like you said, Kane gets got first. Then Dallas gets got. And after that, you're
Brett,
thinking all bets are off. Brett. Oh, no, yeah. Brett goes
dies.
before Dallas?
Brett goes before Dallas. It's Brett,
Okay,
then
so
Dallas.
Kane, then Brett, then Dallas, and after that, you're probably thinking like, "Oh shit, all bets are off." Like, is anybody going to survive in this fucking movie? And then once you find out Ash is a fucking robot, he dies, gets his fucking face burnt off.
Right.
Once it's like pretty much Parker, Lambert, and Sigourney. There's nothing telling you that none of these motherfuckers are going to end up surviving.
Right.
So I thought that was a good aspect in watching this movie, knowing that they don't put any character like front and center. It's just a crew against the xenomorph, and who survives, who fucking knows? Maybe nobody does. Like I said, watching this in the eyes of somebody back in 1979 for the very first time.
Yeah.
Man, I commend him on that.
Well, you know, something that, you know, as we're kind of talking about the last sequence, right, where, you know, it's been revealed Ash is an android and what his mission is. They all decide to go to the escape pod. And with the three of them, even though it's not built for three, but they'll take their chances and blow up the ship. Parker and Lambert go to get, I guess, some fuel cells. They go to get some supplies for the ship that they need, while Sigourney goes and takes the, you know, preps the escape pod and prepares to self-destroy, you know, detonate, trigger the self-detonation of the ship, the Nostromo. Nostromo. I think that scene is really good because we kind of get cuts back and forth between Parker and Lambert, who are going for the supplies, and Ripley. And Ripley she thinks she hears like the cat, so she's searching for the cat. But at this moment, because of the way we're going back and forth, we feel like the alien's going to surface, but we don't know who's going to see it.
Yeah.
And so we're kind of like, oh shit, like who's
where's
going to
that?
encounter it? Who's going to encounter it? And we realize that it's Lambert and Parker, and the alien like ends up killing them both. Like Lambert was shook. She wasn't running.
Well, Lambert was just like the fucking cat.
Bro.
I'm like, hey, in all these fucking movies, whether it's like Scream, Texas Chainsaw, Chucky, whatever, whenever you at least got the fucking numbers, do something.
Help
something.
yourself.
Help me. I mean, granted, like this is like probably the worst one out of all like the ones I just gave, because all those other are people and a doll. So it's probably a lot easier to jump on somebody rather than this fucking alien with his tail. But I'm like,
I'm about to hit you with that Barry Sanders. You don't have to tackle me.
bro, I'm about to hit you with like a fucking JBL clothesline from hell. Deuce, I'm about to jump on the back.
Bro,
give
you tripping. I am running. I am running.
At this point, like, well, okay, it's at least do that. Do something. Well, she was just stuck there.
I know, she was frozen.
Because, okay, if you are going to run, granted, like, say, if you're either...
I'm hitting some
either
sharp
fight,
corners.
Either fight to help your fucking friend,
Yeah.
or run and get help, or do something, or get the fuck out of there. You can't just sit there and just be frozen and crying.
Bruh.
I'm like,
I know,
bitch.
Parker was like, get out the way. Because he had the flamethrower. He's going to try to hit her. But he ends up trying to, divert the alien's attention, and he gets killed. But when we cut back to Ripley, and Ripley is running, and those yellow lights are flashing, and we get that really shaky camera work. I think Ridley Scott actually did the camera work on that one. But like when we're running towards where Parker and Lambert are, and all we hear is Lambert's screams. Like, bro, that was such a chef's kiss.
Yeah.
That's such a great scene.
It's really good.
And like something that is worth calling out for people like I didn't know this, but this is it makes sense watching this movie for those people who are really into like the cinematography. This movie actually used anamorphic lenses, and so like that style lens is really great for like close up shots. And it's like kind of helps with like it helps because it's like there's like a shallow depth of field. It helps like kind of create that really immersive effect. Like you feel like you're right there with them. Even like in the opening scenes, right, where you see them in the cockpit and they're all at their monitors. Like those really kind of close up shots you get of them. It just kind of I don't know. It just like again, it feels like very. It kind of creates that claustrophobic effect in the end
Just
when
adds
she's
to it.
running. But yeah, that's another highlight for me. That whole scene.
Man, I don't want to segue to. I mean, there's so many good things
there's
about
a lot
this
we can
movie.
talk
about. But
The score.
do we have any negatives that you would like to say about it? I mean, I do have. I won't say it's like a hard negative, but I got a little something.
Do I
can
have
throw
a
on this.
negative about this movie? Bro, I'm gonna be honest with you. Nothing comes to mind right now. I think that. I mean, hell, even the ending is really strong. I love the idea of like when the alien is actually on the ship. Like that was a fucking great twist.
Well, you think just like everything is
Everything
cool,
is
fine,
good.
dandy?
The ship has been blown up. That whole scene where she's going back to try to turn off the self-destruction mode. Bro, that scene is so anxiety-inducing because you're like, oh,
You're
damn.
hearing the clock.
You're
like,
hearing
tick
the
down.
clock
I'm like,
turn down.
Bro,
And then
just
she's
get out of
unable to reverse it. And so she's got to haul ass because, the alien had cut her off initially. That's why she tries to turn off the self-destruction mode. But like that whole scene was so well, like it's just like, God damn, this is tense. Because like it's the alien and now you're having to deal with this clock, the actual clock. Out at her,
And then you're like, whoa, what the fuck? And I'm like, is that thing stuck or is it asleep?
No, I think it was like resting.
Yeah, I was like, like because like it's not making any sort of like maneuvers to try to get out.
Right.
But
It isn't until she applies like the heat.
Yeah, because then you see like the mouth kind of come out, or the second mouth come out, and you're just like, I'm just thinking like, is that thing like just like resting or asleep or some shit? But then as soon as she got her little suit on, then she was ready to go.
Yeah.
Doesn't thinking of quickly before I get into my negative, thinking of Romulus, didn't they show like this particular alien? Because Romulus takes place between Alien and Aliens, right?
Yeah.
Didn't they show? Because they showed in a xenomorph.
They acquired this alien. I think that
was that the
blessed
one?
into space.
Because it got shot with like the harpoon or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I was thinking, I was like, okay, is this supposed to be the alien that they found in Romulus?
That was the impression that I got.
Okay.
From the Nostromo.
That's
that
why I
was
thought too.
from,
Okay, I was just making sure I was on the same page.
Yeah, I kind of got that. I got that vibe.
But it's not a hard negative or anything. But I will say, just because I am more of a Aliens fan, so
it's a better ending, no question.
So yeah, I mean, I do like just the action a little bit more, and some of like the kill scenes.
And it's got a little bit. The comedy is better.
Bill Paxton is amazing in Aliens. If you didn't know, if you're a Bill Paxton fan, you got to watch that.
Yeah.
But the Alien, I think, just lacks in some of like the deaths, especially like when we've seen some of like the newer movies. And going back to watch this, it's not like I said, it's not a negative because it's 1979. They're not going to show what they do what they do in today's movies.
Yeah.
But like when they show like Dallas dying, or in it you think he's dead, he's just chilling, and then you pan over, and then the alien just kind of does a jump scare, almost like kind of
grabbing him, yeah,
kind of grabs. It's like yeah, and then it cuts. I'm just like, shit. I could have got a little more than that.
Well, that scene is so well done because they rig
jump scare.
that radar, which really contributes to like the tension in that movie. Because it almost reminds me again, going back to Jaws, of those fucking barrels when they shoot it with the shark with those barrels.
Yeah,
it's always like a visual cue, even if we can't see it.
Yeah.
And similarly, with when Dallas is searching the air ducts for the alien. They can see his motion and they can see the alien coming towards him and like, oh my God, it's coming right at you. It must be like over you, above you. Yeah. And like that scene, like going back and forth with them talking to him and trying to guide him and just having that visual cue of the dot, that was super effective in building like tension and dread, and then of course it grabs him, which is a good jump scare.
just
You
wish
wanted to see
it
more,
yeah, of course, because
especially we're
I've-
spoiled these days with
all like the horror movies we've seen so much, like we're almost numb to seeing all this gross ass shit. But I kind of like it. I can't hate. I can't
deny it.
lie. Yeah, I can't
can't
deny
deny
it.
it.
Think of that Fabulous Nate Dogg song. Is that Fabulous and Nate Dogg?
I was thinking of the Pac one.
Oh, I was thinking you can't deny it. I'm a straight. Oh, what song am I thinking of? I don't know. I don't even want to get too lost right now. But it's not a hard negative, but that's one of the things that it lacks a little bit for me. It's just a little bit of the like when the kills happen, like even like when Parker gets got.
I actually like that scene. That like it didn't show us a lot, but it showed us enough.
It showed enough, but I like a little more.
No, I mean compared
Because,
to
like,
especially compared to the other deaths, like minus the chest burster.
The
That
chest
was like the
burster
most
is
graphic
like
we got as far as like them.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
And so that's where it just lacks a little bit for me. Particularly probably why I'm a little bit more of an Aliens fan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can't really knock this movie for really anything other than that. This is damn near a perfect film for me. Do you want to segue to scores? You guys,
Yeah, man. I mean, what I was gonna say, I think for this will tie into my score. I'll say this. I think that let's just pivot to the scores. I mean, for me, this is a 5. This is one of my favorite.
You don't even gotta think about it.
I don't, man. I mean, I did my list. We talking about off camera. Like I did my list of my top 25 movies of all time a couple years ago, and this was top 5. So I mean, I love this movie. I think it represents like a beautiful union of like great visual storytelling, cinematography, acting. Like it really blends those things together really, really well. And I think that this also represents a watershed moment in just sci-fi movie history. A lot of movies before this, didn't really. They were kind of like B movies, but they call B movies. Like the horror movie, movies like Creature from the Black Lagoon. Yeah. I'm not gonna see that. I ain't gonna front. Yeah, no. I'm not watching this. I mean, respect, but I'm good.
This is a movie that transcends.
Yeah, this movie transcends, and I think that it is a monument to something we've been talking about throughout this whole movie or this whole conversation, which is it's a monument to the lasting impact of visual effects. Like it ages well when done right. And this movie accomplished that. I think it also really introduced us to, honestly, one of the most evil villains, I think, in movie history, which is the Weyland-Yutani Corporation. I mean, this corporation is devoid of any kind of ethics in pursuit of its profits and its agendas, especially with the xenomorphs. I think that has become a consistent. They've been a consistent antagonist throughout this whole movie, and it's really interesting thinking about this movie in the context of like their use of AI. The AI essentially like kind of cuts out the middleman, right? Like he can do what the human beings can't do, and without qualm, without questions, without morality. It's programming. And I think like there's that really great dialogue that also is a highlight for me between after they decapitate Ash, and he talks about how he admires the animal's purity. It's unclouded by like morals, and I think that like resonates. It's interesting because like that's also reflected in the behavior of the corporation.
I mean, like you said, with like the Weyland Corporation, God, in every movie with like that damn like whatever is used for like the AI, except for probably Aliens. Was it Bishop?
Yeah, Bishop. Yeah.
That all the AI is just up to some sort of nefarious, some sort of ordeal. Especially
Can't
David.
trust him.
Especially David from. I mean, you say what you want about
David
the Prometheus, Alien Covenant
evil.
movies, but yeah, David was an evil motherfucker. Seen Covenant recently?
Not recently, no.
They like right at the beginning of that movie when you see Guy Pearce playing like whatever that dude's name is, Wayland, whatever, and David are talking, and he's just like he already makes a comment to Wayland, pretty much almost like it's like, oh, you're human, you're going to die, and I will live on. So why am I listening to you? And then that's when he's like, yeah, all right, play something on the piano. play whatever you want. It's like David is already conscious of like, why am I even listening to your punk ass? It's like, you see, motherfucker, you created a goddamn monster, and you just don't even know how far that's gonna go.
And you can't contain it. I mean, and that's the thing too, right? I think we've talked about. Remember with Event Horizon, we talked about the hubris of Sam Neill's character, right, in trying to create a black hole that you can control that. Yeah. And that there would be no consequences. Yeah. I think the hubris you're seeing is on the part of the corporation where they're just fixated on profits. They can't see beyond their own self-interest, and they're willing to sacrifice anyone, any of their employees. They don't care. Yeah. And like, there's like a hubris in that, thinking that you can control something like that.
And things just get completely out of control because
you can't control it.
No. I mean, for this franchise, man, they've created some crazy looking monsters, or just the films range from perfection to god awful. But the monsters that they created in these movies in this franchise are like definitely like very just well done. They look crazy, they look creative,
very unique,
grotesque looking. Yeah, very unique. That's one thing this franchise has given us. No matter if the movies have spanned over, like I said, variety of successes. Yeah. But, for my score, we're pretty similar, but I'm just under. I'm giving it a 4.5. Okay. Watching this movie, it's just like a E.T. for me, where it's a movie that I don't really even have too much nostalgia attached to it. But so I'm almost going back and watching it with damn near fresh eyes. I've seen bits and pieces of it, but watching it front to back, I haven't done in a long time. But these are like, I compare it to E.T. as far as old movies that I would definitely go back and rewatch. That weighs in my score, rewatchability. And I could say with older movies, I definitely don't go back and rewatch a ton of them. But those are two, and this one is obviously one of them. That I can easily go back and rewatch at any point in time. Oh, for sure. I am more of an Aliens fan, so Aliens might get the 5-star. Maybe it might just slightly edge it out. With the 4.5, they might share that same score. But not too many negatives I can say about this movie. It's pretty much perfection, especially with filming. I can't say there's any sort of filming negatives with it. Directing, cinematography, the acting is really well. The writing's on point. Everything is done to a top-notch level. No,
facts, man. But yeah, well, those are our scores this week. Stick around. We're trying to figure out what we're going to review next.
Go see Alien Romulus, too.
Definitely see Alien Romulus. One thing, man, I'm looking forward to that's dropping Beetlejuice 2. Beetlejuice.
Man, I definitely am looking forward to that
opening weekend.
Yeah, Beetlejuice, I enjoyed that movie growing up.
Maybe we'll review that before,
Man, I did have a quick little hot take before we get out of here. It's not a super hot, man. Well, it's kind of hot, but I'm just thinking about Romulus and Alien. Okay. Alien is a better movie. If I distinctively think that there is two different viewpoints. You can have a best of your favorites, and then you can have an unbiased opinion of these are the better movies. Alien is the better movie. It's than Romulus. Like I said, there's maybe better cinematography. The score is a little better. Some of the acting is done a little bit better, like the crew as far as a whole. But I think I enjoy Romulus a little bit more.
You what?
Just because of the action.
No, I don't think that's a controversial take. I think where Aliens is better at is in the action. I think where this movie is best at is building suspense and tension and horror. Yeah. So I think for me, I lean more towards the horror in this franchise, and this movie delivers that for me. But going back to what you're saying about Romulus, I think the action sequences when, for example, when she kills a lot of them and turns the gravity on to avoid the acid, fucking one of the highlights of that movie.
And it's super creative,
such a great scene.
Rain, are you sure about this?
Only one way to find out. It works.
think where that movie succeeds best at is where it looks to the past, looks to this movie. So obviously the opening sequence is phenomenal. I think the way they ground you in like the class tensions, like they did in Alien, they did even more so in in Romulus. That was excellent. I love that they did that. It gave us the desperation of why they are willing to take this mission to get to to get to that derelict ship.
Yeah.
That it highlighted that for us. Like that movie does so much. What it does best, I think, it draws from this movie.
Yeah.
The visuals, like we talked about the chest burster scene. I think the ending of Alien is better than the ending of Romulus.
Now, let's say, we wouldn't want to stretch on too far. Like the episode's getting a little long. But quick thing about Romulus, I would say like they almost have similar endings to Alien. Like, you know, like because they get on the ship. She's like getting in her little nightgown, whatever. And then at that point, all hell breaks loose. And it's pays off better in Alien. Yeah. It's a lot more.
It's neater.
Yeah. In Romulus, I think it works for some. It doesn't work for everybody. It works a bit for me. I don't think it works a bit for Sir Fraser.
No,
but
not so much.
I want to say if the movie would have maybe ended right then, it didn't have any sort of surprise ending, like maybe like an Alien where like the alien's still on the ship. What if it just ended like she gets on she puts old girl to bed, or maybe even with like let's say like you see the chest burst out of her. But then it just cuts to credits. You don't see anything like that. It just kind of leaves it open-ended. Do you think the movie would have worked a little bit better for you because then you would have got that extra little bit?
I'm just thinking, I wonder, I wish there could have been an easier way or a neater way for us to kind of be clued into what that vaccine could do and would do. I wish there was a better way that they could have delivered that, because I think that was that gift that definitely just added another layer to, yo, this company's fucking evil.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I just wish they could have done that in a better or different way, because I would have liked it to have ended neatly where they're like, yo, we gotta keep this away from them. Yeah. Okay, cool. Establish that it's gonna kill people. It has to be destroyed.
Yeah.
And then let us know that they're fleeing now, that they have to flee from the company.
Yeah.
You know, like maybe you cut back to headquarters and say, you know, or maybe like there's something that happens where it lets us know that the company is aware that they have this.
Yeah. Something
like that. If they could have showed, I don't know, I'm just spitballing, but like I think that there could have been a better ending.
Reworked the ending. Like I said, even though I enjoyed it, but like if the movie probably would have been a lot more across the board popular if it was probably reworked the ending a little bit and don't have the callback lines. Let go of her, you bitch. I did not need that line, bro. I did not need that at all. This is turning into an Alien/Alien Romulus review.
I did not need that at all.
That made me kind of.
I know we got to save this for the Romulus review.
I mean, this is kind of
like
2
for 1.
Honestly, we could make this a quick little bonus one. I could throw in a quick little review of it since we already seen it.
Yeah.
Alien Romulus would also get a. Honestly, I think it would get a 4.5 from me.
Right. Okay. That's what's up.
Like it's right there with like this. To me, it's definitely the best sequel, prequel, whatever in the franchise. It's Alien, Aliens, and Romulus. Those are the 3.
Yeah, I think.
And like, it'd probably go Aliens, Romulus, Alien, but those 2 are battling it out for 2 and 3 because I enjoy both of those movies, and the ending did work for me.
Blasphemy. No, just to say, about Romulus, I think it actually will probably win. If it won't be in my end of the year top 5, it will definitely be in the honorable mention. Sure. But yeah, man, I mean, it's a good movie. I probably lean closer to a 4, but I think visually it's beautifully done. I have my issues with it, as you can tell, but I think like it's really well done, man. My only thing that I get frustrated with, like in the lead up to these types of releases, is they share too much in the trailer. I don't need to see all this in the trailer. Yeah. I know it's an Alien movie. I've been with y'all for a minute. I don't need you to show me a lot. That's what made Alien so special. The previews didn't give you much of anything. It just relied on dread. And to me, like, I would love if more fucking like trailers would kind of err on the side of less is more. I mean, because that's what this movie gives us.
Leave things more ominous a little
yeah,
bit, especially when we
exactly.
kind of already know what we're getting into.
Because that's what the original Alien does. It gives us less of the monster, but it contributes so much more dread because we are constantly anticipating. Whether it's the face hugger, whether it's the chest burster, whether it's the fucking finding the shedded skin.
They definitely didn't even need to show like the girl doing the X-ray on her chest, because we already know as an audience that like I said, mentioned earlier, an alien is going to get impregnated, whether it's a guy or girl, and that alien is going to burst out of some orifice of your body, and we don't need to see like which one it is. So like we already know like, okay, it's going to be her. She's going to have that alien inside of her, and it's going to be the chest burster. So something's going to happen to her. But like trailers don't, they show a little bit too much. That almost segues to another movie coming out called See No Evil with James McAvoy. That looks really good. It's like, man, I think you showed a little too much. I'm going to still see the movie, but it's like, I think you showed a little too much.
Chill,
with
B.
these. So Alien will get a 4.5. Alien Romulus gets a 4.5.
All right. Cool. Well, thank you for joining us for the bonus review as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll catch y'all next week.
Peace.